Hello, you guys. Here I is. Hey, Jan. Hey, Monica. Hi, Susan. Okay. People are coming in. All right. This is the first time I'm doing this for anyone. So I may blunder through a few things, but it's actually pretty straightforward, really. Hi, Carol. Hi, Susan. Hi, Ann. Here you is too. Hi, Diane. Good, great. We're getting some people in here. All right. Today we're gonna do some soft soldering, which means we're working with the solder that people use for stained glass, and it is different than if you're doing metal smithing, so it's a whole different kind of solder. Hi, Susan. We got a bunch of Susans here today. Anyway, this is the solder that we're going to be using. It's lead-free. Typically in stained glass making, they use a leaded solder. It's a portion of lead, but since we're putting this on our skin, we don't want to have any lead on it. So, hey, Mary. Okay, so where do I begin? Let me show you the pendants that I've done, or the pieces that I've done, and then we can go from there. Let me turn the... Hi, Gwen. Hey, Melody. Oh, man. I get a nice group of people here. All right, let me see if I get in the frame here. You guys can see and hear okay, I hope. All right, let's see here. All right, here are some of the pieces that I've done. And I used washers. You can use washers from the hardware store if they're copper. Hi, Leah. And then I cut some washers out with a disc cutter that I have. Then I used a stamping like this that you can purchase. I have a ton of these I bought a long time ago, and I haven't really done much with them. So this is a good opportunity to use those. And then I just cut some other shapes out. The backs look pretty ratty, but technically, you know, when you're doing a piece, you want your backs to look nice and clean, like this one. You can clean it up though. I didn't bother. So let's see. Hey, Debbie. All right. And Debbie, you can chime in anytime if I'm not doing something right, because Debbie knows how to do this stuff really well. She makes some very lovely pieces with the soft solder. And all right, so I textured the majority of these pieces, which you can or don't have to. It's totally up to you if you want to do them that way. You can also cover up the entire piece of copper if you wanted to, and stamp on that, and then it makes it look like you have a silver piece. Hey, Karen. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can do. Of course, not limited to that. I have some pieces that I'm going to work with today. I've got a heart and another shape like that. I've got several shapes, so we'll do a few of them so you can get an idea, get a sense of what it's all about, and we'll go from there. All right, so what I did was I had cut out these shapes. I textured them and then cut them out. The next thing I need to do is drill punch a hole in whatever I'm going to use. And let me get these finished pieces out of the way here. Okay. I've got a bunch of things going on at once. Sometimes nothing's happening, and other times there's a whole ton of stuff going on. Hey, Marianne. Yeah, I'm glad you finally found me. You're a busy woman. All right, so I'm just going to eyeball where I'm going to put my holes in because you know how I am about that. I'm generally on the mark, but it doesn't hurt to measure them if you don't feel that you can get them centered properly. So I'm just going to punch a couple of holes. That's really not imperative to do at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it since we've got the time. I will. Oh, well, I needed my other hole punch for this one. I need my Euro tool punch. That one goes in a little bit deeper than this, and of course I don't have that set out on the table for me. All right, so we'll just punch a few of these. I will get up and get that other hole punch because I kind of really do want to do this heart. And let's see here. If you get an area in your textured copper that's not textured too well, that might be the area you want to cover up. Just an idea. All right. And if any time you have any questions, just feel free to post a comment and I will check them as I am able. All right. I've got this little skull pattern here from Gwen from Rolling Mill Resources. Nice little spooky skull pattern for Halloween. I love that. All right. I'm going to just get up right now and get that other hole punch because I want to do this heart for sure. So hang on. Okay. This Euro tool hole punch is wonderful for reaching areas that you can't get normally with a two-hole punch like this style. There are other punches available though, other styles and brands that you can use. And let's see here. This one actually, this goes in pretty deep. No, I still want it in the center. I'll just find a bigger jump ring to put in there rather than have the heart offset, hang offset, I should say. All right. All right, so I'll get that in here. Oh, thanks, Marianne. Yeah, the screen porch and deck build is coming along finally. We've had our share of fiascos, but it looks like we're on our way now. All right. I just hope we can use it before winter sets in. Okay, so I have, let me go over the supplies here with you. I have a soldering iron here. This is what you need. I've got a Weller 100. There are lots of different soldering irons on the market. I can't tell you anything about the other brands because I've never really used another brand. But I used to work in a stained glass / bead shop years back, and the Weller 100 was always the one that they recommended. It was like their go-to soldering iron. So this is what you need for the job. I believe the standard when you order one of these or when you buy one of these, this is the tip that comes with it. I believe this is a 1/4-inch tip. And for this particular project, the wider tip, the better, because it just gives more heat. And you really need to have that heat to melt that solder. So this is the soldering. There's a soldering stand. They come in lots of different configurations. That doesn't matter so much as long as you have something to holster your hot soldering iron in, so you don't have any accidents. And then I have a wet sponge right here that you need to wipe off the tip occasionally. So that's important to have that, a wet tip or a wet sponge. Then on my tray of goodies here, I have just a basic ceramic tile, just something heat proof that you want to work on. And I have a pair of tweezers. I have a pair of serrated hemostats. These are very handy to have. I have my lead-free solder spool. This particular one is made by Mastercraft, but there's lots of different brands out there, and it's on the pricey side. There's no way really to get around that. There's also a product called Silver Gleam, which actually has some silver in it. It gives a really nice shiny finish. That's probably twice as much as this is, or close. Well, I wouldn't say that. You get half as much for about the same price as something like this. All right, just to keep that in mind. But that is an option. I rarely use it, but if I did a lot of this kind of stuff, I probably would be using this, because this is silver bearing in here, the Silver Gleam. So that's why I say this spool versus this, you get a lot less in there. Okay, then just a crappy old brush for applying the flux. A little cup for the flux. This is the flux that I use. It's called gel flux. I'll have resources for this stuff on the group page after the demo. But I did have most of these products, or probably all of these products, listed from the last demo that I did. And then there's flux remover. You need both, because this stuff is hard to remove, and this stuff does the job, cleans it up. I also have what they call a sal ammoniac block, which is a little hard block. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of mineral. And you can clean your soldering iron off with that. I'm going to turn my fume trap on. That's another item that you should have if you're doing a lot of soldering. A fume trap is a good thing to have. However, if you don't, if you work in a well-ventilated room with a box fan or some kind of fan and an open window, that works pretty well too. So I did a little demo on, or just showed how you use this to clean your soldering iron. And your soldering iron has to have solder on it for this all to work. If your iron looks like this, if it's not shiny like the tip where it has solder on it, you're not going to get it to heat up and have everything stick together. So it's important to clean your iron off, and then, well, this already has a little bit of solder on it, but you can just add a little bit of solder to it, and there you go, and continue to clean it. You can do that on both sides, and it cleans your iron up real well. See how it smokes like that? That's normal and okay, and that's why a fume trap or, you know, an open window with a fan is a good thing to have, because you don't want to be breathing that. All right, so that's all clean and ready to go. I always keep a pair of utility pliers handy, only because if I drop something, I can reach down and get this before it burns my floor or something else, my table. So it's good to have a pair of old crummy pliers around. So that's those materials, and then we're going to talk about rubber stamps here. You need to use the red rubber stamps. The other ones don't work. I'm not sure why, but in everything I've read about rubber stamping on the solder is the red rubber stamps are the ones that you want to use. They do get crummy after the flux is on them. So you want to kind of maybe reserve these, or if they're your favorite stamps for other things, then maybe you want to put your flux remover on here and maybe a soft toothbrush, a very soft toothbrush, and some warm water and clean them all off to keep them in shape. I don't use that many different stamps in this, so these are the stamps I've pretty much dedicated for the soft soldering technique. You really, I don't know, to me you don't need that many different designs. I mean, you're not stamping a whole, well, I guess if you're doing an entire piece, you want that pattern to be recognized or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. So I'm just saying that the stamps that you use do tend to get gunky, and I just haven't really wanted to bother with cleaning them all. So these are the ones that I'm going to use. All right. So let's see what else. I also have a product here. This is a patina that you can use to antique your copper if you want that to have that look. This is one of the pieces that I put that patina on right here. Regular liver of sulfur will not patina. The lead-free solder does not take liver of sulfur. It just doesn't take it. So this is the stuff that you need to use for that. Hopefully we can get to that. But you just use, you pour a little bit in a little disposable cup and just use I don't know, a disposable paintbrush if you want, or one dedicated for that, and just paint this on. Let it sit for a minute, and then you rinse it off and then clean it with some steel wool. So that's an option. Can you guys hear me okay over this fume trap? Because it seems awfully loud to me. All right, Cindy has a question. If there are no images or beads, why can't you pickle your piece instead of flux remover? I don't know. I've never tried to put it in there. I've always just used the flux remover. So I don't know. That's a good question though, Cindy. I should try it and just see. But the flux remover is pretty quick, but it's all messy. You know, the whole technique is kind of a messy technique. All right. Oh, thanks, Jan. Good. All right, so those are the stamps that I'm going to use today. The solder, it cools off and hardens really quick. So its timing is the most important element for successful stamping. So I'm going to just move these off here, get rid of the paper so I don't catch it on fire, because I've been known to do that. And just kind of move all my stuff over here to work on. All right, so I'm going to, flux is really, really important for this, for the success of this and the ease of it. It can get really frustrating if you don't have enough flux. some of this other stuff out of my way. And I'll tell you, I can't say enough about these little hemostat tweezers. They're or hemostats. They're very handy to hold on to your piece because the pieces get hot when you're working on them. All right, so I'm going to... Now, when I did say about the liver of sulfur not picking up the patina on here, it doesn't, if you want to put your piece, if you want your piece to be antiqued, the copper background, if you want that to be antiqued, you can go ahead and put this whole piece just like this into the liver of sulfur. It will antique this part, not affect this part, and then you can kind of clean that off. So that's an option, unless you want it to look shiny. I hope I explained that okay. All right, so I'm going to take, I've already put some flux, I put some flux in the little cup, and I've anchored my my piece, holding it on here with the hemostats, and I'm going to brush some flux on here where I want that solder to stick. Be generous with your flux. It's important. All right, so I'm going to get my solder here. The soldering iron is hot. And I'm going to press down on the solder. See how hot that was? I'm going to gather a bunch. And I've got my stamp that I want to use right next to me because time is a factor here. I'm going to spread a puddle of solder on here. It's hot, it's liquid, and I have to holster that real quick and press. So that's that. However, I've got a big glob here. I don't like that. So I'm going to put more flux on here and remelt this piece. See how it gets all black and crusty like? That's why you need the flux remover to clean that off. Okay? And that's as easy as it is. You can fuss with it a little bit if you don't like the placement of how your stamp worked. But it's kind of cool to have like little drips hang off the edges. And if they're a little bit sharp, you can just file them a little bit and fix that up. But I kind of like this just like it is. But the back did get yucky. So you could more than likely file or sand that off on the back if it bothered you. If you heat this up, you're going to melt this on the other side. So that's really not a good option for that as far as cleaning up that way. Let's do some other. See how that it gets crusty right away. But anyway, that's one piece. The hemostats are the bomb. They really are. Now let's do a piece on a jump ring. Using my flux. All right, and get my pattern, my stamp. Grab some solder. There's no right or wrong. It's really basically just what you want to achieve as far as your pattern, the look. I'm not sure if I like that or not. I think I'll repress this one. So flux it up again. I don't have this level. I really need to bring my tile up a little bit more because I've got this baking pan. Oh, that'll work. All right. I've got that edge on this baking pan that I'm working on, and it doesn't fit real well with the hemostats. Okay, so there's another one. Now, if you're trying to make earrings and you want them to match, that might be a little bit more of a challenge, but I'm sure if you want to stick with it a little bit, you'll get them to at least closely match. Put that over. They'll stay hot for quite a while. Now I'm going to do, well, I'll do this little pumpkin, or this skull here first. I'm going to do that little squeaky skull. Just make sure that you have everything right in front of you because it goes fast. If you wait a little bit too long, it doesn't work. You know, it cools off too fast. I like that with the edges kind of ruffly or spiky, whatever you want to call that there. I think that looks kind of cool. Oh, Debbie says, sometimes when I get too much solder on the metal, I'll use a little torch to melt and then let it drip off. That sounds like a great idea. That's a great tip. All right, so that kind of gives you your mixed metal look, your copper and silver look. If you wanted to make it all silver, I'm going to use this little flower here like I did on the other one, like on the example that I showed you. And I'm going to go for covering this whole thing. So there again, flux. It is a messy craft, that's for sure. Usually when I go to clean them off with the flux remover, I'll put disposable gloves on because it gets all over. And actually, just a little tip, if you have cuts on your hands when you're using the flux remover, it kind of stings it. So it's probably better to use the gloves anyway. Well, that came out okay. This little piece here, though, this little thing that's sticking out, I'm going to get rid of that. And just it's a little bit too wild for my taste, having that little bit stick out. So that's actually pretty cool. Now, it looks a little bit dull right now, but it'll clean up, it'll shine up later on. Carol, you know, it really doesn't appear to damage the stamp other than getting it dirty and gunky. And I haven't really tried cleaning them, but you know, I really should, just so you guys know if it's possible or not. But it doesn't look like the rubber is compromised in any way. It looks fine. But really the best way to tell is to clean it and then maybe stamp it on an ink pad, you know, and then take an impression of it. But if you have really favorite stamps, I probably wouldn't risk it. I think I would just dedicate certain stamps for this technique. I do have like this word block, this word stamp. I'm going to try this and see how this looks. So we'll try that on a larger piece, just for the heck of it and because we can. All right, Jazz is asking, could you do this without first texturing the copper since you're using the stamp anyway? I love your like. Yes, the flower that I just did, this little flower, this one was not stamped. This was just a stamping that I purchased somewhere, and I knew that I was going to cover the whole thing, so it didn't matter to me to have any kind of texture on there. So yeah, you can totally skip that stuff if you want to. Okay, I hope that answers your question there, Jazz. Marianne says, I saw a woman do this on silver-plated silverware. She flattened a spoon cup that didn't look that great and did this technique and it looked great. Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't do that. I think it would be very doable. In fact, that I'm going to put that down, write that down so that I remember to try that, because I'm always looking for different ways to do different things. Okay, Gina says, I took a class from Richard Sally using this technique. We added bezel cups so we could add stones too. Gina, yes. In fact, I took a class from Richard Sally as well on this. I made a very cool, we made our own stamp, actually. Maybe you did the same thing in that class. We etched a design and made a stamp with that etching, and then pressed it onto the soft solder. So that could very well be the same class. And yeah, and I believe we soldered a stone on as well. So yeah, I mean, there's other possibilities that you can do with this technique. Okay. The soft solder will tarnish over time, Jazz, just like silver plate or silver. It does tarnish, but a very easy way to clean the solder, the soft solder, is with fine steel wool. Just use a piece of, I use the 4040 steel wool, and it cleans up the soft solder very easily. Okay, yeah, you know, Gina, we might have even been in the same class. Who knows? I know I took it up at Bead and Button in Milwaukee some years back, and it was a fun class. We did a lot of fun stuff, and we made our own little handle for the stamp and used a cork underneath it because it got hot, and we held on to it with that cork. Jan's the same thing. You made that stamp with Richard Sally too. It is a fun technique. I know that my stamp that I made was a fish, and at the time I wasn't really sure what the heck I was doing, but I really like it. I don't know if I have it handy or not. Hang on just one sec. Looking in my bag of scraps and different things. Too bad I don't know where it is. But I'm going to look for it. I'm going to look for that, and I'll post a picture of the one I made in Richard Sally's class, because it was pretty cool. But I can't teach that because that's his thing. But it's a very cool thing. All right, so let's see. Let's see if I can use that word stamps. You know, Jazz, I don't know. I would have to revisit that to tell you for sure how I did that. because, you know, when you think about it, you don't want to melt your design off of your thing. Well, let me think about that before I give you an answer on that. All right, so adding the flux. All right, I'm going to do that. And I'm kind of precarious here because I'm not, well, maybe I can pull it off. All right, get my solder. I've got my stamp close by. That's the thing, it's the timing of getting that solder to stay liquid. Let's go up a little bit on this. Now that wasn't so great. See, I didn't get a very good impression on here. So I'm going to try that again, but I'm going to move this just so I have a more solid area to press. All right, so I'm going to reflux this area here. All right, so it's all ready. If I didn't have to holster the soldering iron, if I had another hand, I could get to that quicker. And I still don't like that. And maybe this stamp is just not the thing to use for a good imprint. I don't know. Let's just see if I can do a better job. I have a fan blowing down here too, so that might not help. Well, it's all pretty much the same result, so I'm just gonna forget about that one and stamp with a different one. Much better. That's a much nicer design than the script. The script is just too hard to see. That's a nice one. Like that. This is a lot of fun. Messy fun. All right. Let's see. I'll just do a couple more pieces and then that's going to be it, really. We could open it up for questions again or talk about other stuff. Let's do this one here. I don't have two that match, do I? Those are pretty close. Let's see if I can make a pair. Yes, another rabbit hole. I guess I can't really make any apologies for that. I'm guilty as charged. I like all these different rabbit holes. But like when I did that demo 2 weeks ago on the other soft soldering. If you get this setup, I mean, you can do a lot of different techniques with the same setup. So it's not really a bad investment. Whoa! I guess I didn't have this clamped very well. That'll show me. Okay, let's try that again. You know, to me, a lot of times it doesn't really matter what stamp design you choose, because most of the time you really can't make out what it is that you're stamping, what kind of design. Well, I guess that doesn't look good at all. I'll try that again. Some stamps are going to serve you better than others, evidently. That doesn't look like much of anything. So I guess I'll scrap the clock, because that doesn't really show. I have this other stamp that I cut apart, a different stamp, a rubber stamp mat that I cut it because it's like those long red rubber stamp mats, and I cut it because it's one that I don't use hardly ever, and I still have a good portion of the design if I want. So these things get hot. I just lined it with another piece of rubber on the back, but if you have the stamps that either have foam or wood on the back, those are probably the better ones to use. You could always glue them on if you wanted to. I don't like that. You can always redo it like you see me doing here, as long as you keep refluxing. You can do that. You can heat and reheat as much as you need to. Nope, I don't like that design either. It doesn't really show anything. It's just too fine lined, I would say. You might not want to have a stamp that has too fine of lines in it. I like that better. That shows a little bit more texture. Yeah. Let's see if I can get another one to look like that. Okay. Try to do this a little bit. It's still hot. I'll say that's good enough as a pair. All right. And I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do the heart. And then we'll go over cleanup and patina. think I'm going to try this at a different angle. You can use it for small plumbing projects too. I don't know about that, but I really don't know anything about plumbing, so. It's always good, though, to have multi-purpose tools. But I'm a little particular with my jewelry tools. Put that in. Nice. Oh, I like that one. I like that. Like that. Okay, so let's take ones that are cool. And, well, I don't have any gloves set out for me, so I'm just going to work with the flux remover without gloves. I mean, you can do it as long as you don't have any skin problems. Oh, that was the hot one I just picked up. Ah. All right, I'm going to clean off my tile with a little bit of this. Oh, I poured too much. I'll clean off my tile. Get all these little crusty bits off here. All right. I don't have soap and water available to me where I am right here, but I'm going to try to patina this. I'm going to use a wet wipe and see if I can get enough of the flux remover off of this to do a good patina. Yeah, that back looks pretty nasty. But I think you could hit it with a jewel tool or some kind of soldering. I mean, not soldering, some kind of sanding thing and get that off if you wanted to. I know if I was selling these, I would want them to look as nice as possible. All right. But it's amazing because this flux really does get, I'm going to turn this off. The flux really does get crusty. And it's hard to, I already did that one. It's hard to get it cleaned up without this stuff. Or trying the pickle, I don't know. I don't know how putting this soft solder in there would work. But it's always worth a try. Because you might discover something really good or not. So it's good to know. All right, so all right. Gwen says, another rabbit hole for me. I love these. Good. You know, I think it's fun to learn new things. You know, it's kind of recharges you. At least it does for me. Just clean these off. Yeah, the heart really does look nice. I have to clean that one up. It's cool now. I know Debbie does such nice work with these the soft solder designs. She posts them on Instagram quite a bit, and I think she has them in her Etsy shop that are already done. If this is something that you don't want to invest all the tools or supplies in, you could just buy a piece already made. All right. Yeah, that heart is sweet. All right, so let's see. Now, I would normally go to the sink and wash these with soap and water right now, but since we don't have that right now, we'll just try this and see if it will accept the stuff is blue. It's a liquid blue, and it turns black. All right, where's my paintbrush? Okay, here's my paintbrush. And we just paint some of this on. It turns dark immediately. And I will put these in liver of sulfur later because I want my copper to have that antiqued look. But it won't affect this at all. Well, you know what? I take that back. I don't know that for a fact. I actually put them in the liver of sulfur before I put this Novacan Black on here. So I should probably try that out and then tell you if that works well or not. But see how fast it patinas. This is what they use for stained glass projects too, to darken the lead or the solder. All right. You can decide how dark you want it to be. And then I will take a paper towel. Okay. And just kind of clean this up, the high surfaces, the high spots. And remove however much of this dark. Oh, my laundry's done. That's one nice about having your studio in your house. You can get other things done. When I had my shop, I didn't have that luxury. You know, you still came home and you still had to get dinner started or do laundry or whatever. And this way I can just kind of like throw in a load and work, or go upstairs and get dinner started. I also have one of these little polishing sticks that Gwen mentioned a while back that we got on Amazon, and these will shine up those high spots real nice. But you can get these. This actually needs to be cleaned up a little bit better. You can get in here and get into this design a little bit better with the steel wool. Get that cleaned up, unless you like it that dark, but I think a little bit of dark goes a long way. I prefer it to not quite be that dark. But these shine up real nice. All right. And I'll put all the references on the group page when I'm done here. But I would still clean this off with soap and water, just to make sure you get all the little fibers off from the steel wool. because they do get everywhere. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty easy peasy, I'd say. Oh, any other questions? Yeah, I'll put the polishing, all that information. It's not going to be on the handout because that's already done, but I'll put it on the group page post. Yeah, on the post that I put the handout on. I'll put all the resources on there. So, yeah, I think they look really nice. The one side of this is the polishing, and then the other part has a really fine grit on the other side. So you can, you know, use the grit side first and then do the little polishing thing. So pretty sweet. Okay, so any other questions? Hello again. Quick and fun. It is. Once you have all the stuff that you need, you can do all these things fairly simply. You know, like I said earlier, I don't think you need to have a lot of stamps dedicated for this. I think these little swirly stamps look really nice, and I would tend to use that for just about everything, I think, because I like it. And really, there's no point in gunking up a bunch of stamps unless you want to. So, yeah, I'll put all the resources out with links from Amazon. If you buy them from Amazon, I get a very small commission, but it all adds up. So, and I want to add, you don't have to necessarily buy these products, but if you go into Amazon to buy something else, but you go through one of my links, then I'll get credit for whatever you buy. And I have no idea who buys what. So, you know, if you're buying underwear and you go through one of my links, I don't know who bought the underwear. So I'm just saying, you know, that gives me a little bit of a kickback. So I always appreciate that. All right. Do we have any questions? Oh, Marianne says, you just gave me a quick idea for the grand's teachers for the holidays. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yep. Quick and easy. And if you have, you know, you don't have to have a rolling mill necessarily, you know, to get your textures, or have a hydraulic press or whatever. You can buy pre-made stampings. There's a lot of places that sell the stampings already, all the shapes. So you can use those and keep your expenses to a minimum. So, all right. Well, this was actually a much quicker demo than I thought it was going to be. I thought I would take at least another half an hour. Usually my demos are about an hour and a half, and this is just an hour. So, you have a lot of rubber stamps? Yeah. Welcome to the club. I'm sure you can find a few that you can dedicate to this technique. But like I said, you can do other things with the soldering iron setup too. So that's always, you know, it's nice when you can get multiple techniques out of the same equipment. So, all right. And you saw, if you were on the group page, you saw that I'm putting together those holiday or fall pumpkin necklace kits, and a lot of you have already purchased them. This is probably not the best light, but this is with alcohol ink. It's just a different technique. It's kind of this is another really quick project. Once you cut your pumpkin out. And I have a bunch of alcohol inks that I've had for years for different projects. And the closest thing to a pumpkin was the butterscotch uh, color. And I think it actually looks quite good as a pumpkin. It's not an orange, it's butterscotch. But on the copper, it looks really nice. So if you have ordered a kit, make sure you send your payment in, and I'm going to get those out in the next couple of days, because we may be making a trip to South Carolina in the next few days. My mother-in-law is in her final stages, and we could be called at any moment and we have to go. So I want to make sure that I get everybody's stuff out, and then in 2 weeks, if everything is on our normal schedule, then I will do the pumpkin pendant for the next demo. So we'll just walk through it together. And yeah, you know, my mother-in-law's 98, so I mean, you can't really expect too much more. You know, I mean, she's lived a very good long life, and I just hope that her exit is painless and swift. And for right now, it seems like she's comfortable, and you know, we'll just have to see. But we could be called at any moment and have to take off. So I want to make sure that I get all the orders out in the mail as quickly as possible, so so there won't be any delay in that. So, okay, I think that's gonna do it. I'm gonna try to clean up those stamps just as a reference. I'll let you know how that comes out, so that you know. I'll also stick one of these things in the pickle and see if that affects it in any way, because it's always good to know what your options are. So I will post the the instructions in just a couple minutes with the resources from Amazon, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, so take care. Thanks for watching.